This is Dan Dix here, reporting for Press for Truth. We're here in downtown Vancouver right now, and if you're watching this video right now, I'm willing to bet there's a pretty good chance you're probably either watching this on your laptop or perhaps on a cell phone, and you may or may not know that in order for that to work properly, this requires some lithium, particularly in the batteries in there. So needless to say, this is going to be a very huge, important industry moving forward, and I am actually here in the offices of Bearing Lithium. I'm joined by the CEO, Jeremy Poirier, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. We're going to I want to get your views on the industry and where you see this moving forward in the near future. But before we get into that, can you maybe just start by telling us, you seem like a young guy. How does somebody such as yourself get to the point of being a CEO of a lithium mining company?
Well, first off, Dan, thanks for having me. I started in the capital markets when I was 18 years old. So I did start younger than most, and I worked in it while I attended university. And then most recently, we co-founded a company called Pure Energy Minerals. We did a deal with Tesla Motors. It was a project in Nevada where the company's raised close to $16 million to date, and they're currently in the development stage of the project. And we proved out a resource next to the only lithium producing mine in North America. So we were kind of early to lithium. We saw the trend before a lot of the other companies did, and we were highly successful. And now I'm on to Bearing Lithium, where I guess I hope it to be my second successful project in a row.
So for people who may not be aware or familiar, what exactly is lithium, and is this replacing other industries of old like zinc, and I'm not sure what other kind of elements were being used for these types of things before, but is this currently replacing the old, coming in with the new? Is that in a nutshell what's going on?
I wouldn't say that lithium is replacing anything. If you look at the periodic table, you go hydrogen, helium, lithium. So it's the lightest metal on the planet, holds the highest charge. So it's always been there, and anything that needed to move, cell phones, laptops, power tools, anything with a battery's always been lithium ion. For electric cars, it can only be lithium as far as lithium ion batteries. There is other ingredients in the battery as well. So I would note that it's not just the battery demand, it's also, the lithium market as a whole is a very tightly controlled market, so that's helped push up the costs as well. But it's mostly the adoption of, like I said, the increasing demand with cell phones, as you mentioned earlier, laptops, computers, and then the EVs, and then also the one thing that not a lot of people are talking about is grid storage for renewable energy.
Well, grid storage for renewable energy and electric cars sounds like this is leading towards something more sustainable in terms of something that's friendly to the environment. So is that for you guys one of the main pushes here, is that this is just cleaner energy?
I think that it happens to be, that's one of the things that's driving lithium. Right, electric cars. We want cleaner air, especially in China. They've demanded that all combustion engines moving forward are not to be built or driven in China. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. There's obviously a phased approach to that, but that's because of the pollution. We all know there's a big problem with pollution in China. So lithium has definitely benefited from that. And then as far as renewables go, we all know that green energy is growing larger and larger. And we all know that it's important to our society moving forward. Now, one of the issues is that the wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't shine at night. So grid storage happens to be a way that we can bring on more renewable energy, and we can use it 24 hours a day.
Well, here in Vancouver, I've often referred to this place as the watermelon province. Now, this is largely because a lot of people here are, watermelons are green on the outside and they're red on the inside. Essentially, people here have the look of environmentalists, but when you get down to the core of the ideology, they're essentially communists at the root of it. So what can you say as to the free market entrepreneurship in terms of providing market solutions to free energy? What can you speak to that about? Because you're an entrepreneur, you're involved in the free market. Is that a preferable solution than what we see coming from what seems to be kind of a socialist movement here in Vancouver?
Well, I think the writing's on the wall. It's not just a Vancouver movement. What I would say is that you're probably talking about some of the subsidies that the government's given for electric cars and for solar. Those were early on subsidies to get the industry off the ground. And now, for example, solar energy in the U.S. is now the cheapest form of power, and it now employs more people than coal. So I no longer believe that it's just this industry, or it no longer is, in fact, an industry that's heavily subsidized. It can survive now without subsidies. Electric cars. I definitely think there's still subsidies, and there is still subsidies, but those are going away. Those are expiring, and the entire industry is again starting to now stand on its own, and it won't need those subsidies. The other thing I'd mention is that oil and gas, and I drive a combustion engine. Just full disclosure, at this point in time, I think the next car is going to be electric, because I do believe in that. But the point I'm making is that the oil and gas industry is also heavily subsidized. We don't often talk about it because we're just so used to it, but they are very, very heavily government supported.
Well, we do know that Elon Musk is advancing Tesla to bring in these electric cars. And what you mentioned him earlier. What was your involvement? Was your earlier company sold to him, or what was the deal that you had with Elon Musk?
So we did a supply agreement with Tesla. It took a long time. It was a lot of negotiating, and we learned a lot of things. We knew a lot of things about the supply chain, but we learned a lot more things as well. One of the issues with lithium is that you mentioned free market. It does not run as a free market. Like, for example, gold or silver, if you produce that, you can sell it at market. It's a liquid market. Everybody can see the price of it every day. With lithium, it's industrial metal. It's sold on contract. So there's only 4 companies that control the majority, over 90% of the lithium production. So those four companies essentially act as an oligopoly. They produce anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 a ton, and they sell 12,000 or higher. In the last quarter of SQM's quarter, for example. So they don't have a tremendous interest in bringing in a lot of other players and have the market function more freely. And that was one of the things that Tesla was very concerned about, because they're big advocates of an open and a free and a transparent market. So that's one thing about lithium. And the other thing, it's a very small market. It's only about a $2 billion market. It is growing rapidly, and it will continue to grow. And there hasn't been a lot of investment in it, so that's why there's not a lot of potential projects for production. And that's one of the reasons we've also seen the squeeze. But so it's not just the demand; it's also the market fundamentally is different than a lot of other ones.
Right. Well, where do you see it then going from here, and even in the coming months and years? It seems. I mean, Tesla just built, I think, the largest lithium producing factory in the world, I believe. Where do you see this industry moving from here?
Well, Tesla makes all the headlines, or the majority of the headlines, until recently. You saw Dyson, a vacuum maker, announce that they are now building an electric car. You've seen Apple, Google both announce that they're building electric cars. And then, for example, Volkswagen said there needs to be 40 gigafactories. There's been, I think, 10 gigafactories announced and are being built in China. There's been one in Poland, another one in Chile, another one in the U.S., in the Northeast, and several others, and there will continue to be. So I think Tesla makes the headlines, but there's a lot of this movement is no longer a small movement. It's large, very legitimate companies that are moving towards this direction.
Well, if somebody's interested in getting into this space, I mean, how could they potentially get involved? And would the best avenue maybe to get involved with something like Bearing Lithium? I mean, is stock options the best way to get involved at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're referring to like gold, for example, where you could buy gold bars or gold coins. Yeah, that's not really an option. In lithium, it's highly combustible, and it's an industrial mineral. So with taking advantage, if you look at the majors, SQM's tripled, Albemarle's tripled, FMC's doubled. So they've had a pretty good run. I think they'll continue to move higher, but they've had an excellent run so far. You look at the juniors, there's not a lot to pick from, right? And that's one of the reasons why you've seen some of these, so many of these stocks move is because there isn't a lot of viable projects. There isn't a lot of projects out there for investment. And you've seen companies like Rio Tinto enter the space, POSCO, which was one of the world's largest steel companies, because, they understand the demand for this mineral. So I think Bering is an interesting opportunity to invest, because if you look at our market cap relative to our peers, we're significantly lower, and we're one of the most advanced projects in the world, and we are the highest grade lithium brine project in the world that is not currently producing. So I do think you can make a very legitimate argument that Bering is an advanced stage project and is an interesting investment opportunity if you'd like exposure to lithium.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody who's watching, if you do and you are interested, where do they go? What kind of links can they go to do a little bit more research on this, or if they even want to purchase some stock, how do they go about doing that?
Sure. So depending on if they have a broker, a discount broker, who they trade through, we trade on the Canadian exchange under the ticker BRZ, and on the OTCQB exchange, BRGRF. And you can find more information at our website, beringlithium.com, and you can sign up for our newsletter and keep up to date on all our developments there. And you can also call us or email us. The phone number and all the information is on the website, and we always look forward to any feedback from our investors and trying to improve each day.
Fantastic. Well, I think it's a great opportunity, and we're going to have all the links in the description, so definitely be sure to check out the links. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. Good luck with this industry moving forward.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you.